So recently I watched the movie Inside Out 2, and the whole premise of the movie is that it's about this girl who has all her emotions personified. And one part that was particularly relatable was the personified emotion of anxiety and how it takes over and infects your brain and tells you that you're not good enough. If you're like me and you run high on anxiety, you know that this is something that's truly and deeply relatable to a lot of us in our careers, in our lives, and just in everyday life. And today I wanted to share 3 times in my life, my career, where my anxiety and my self-doubt took over and infected my brain, and just some lessons that I learned from it. So the first story is about self-doubt and anxiety in my specialization. A little bit of a background about what I do. I am a full stack web developer, which means I work on web applications, front end, all the stuff that the user can see, all the way to the back end, all the stuff that the user can't see, that's abstracted away and provides all the data layers and everything. And when I started my career, I was just happy to have a job. But the thing about being in a software job, or probably most jobs in life, is that you slowly run towards a specialization in what you do. My specialization was front-end development, which is basically the websites, all the beautiful design, all the interactions, how things work, the little transitions and motions and stuff like that. That's what I worked on. That was my specialization, and that was my specialization for my entire 6-year career. And the thing about it was that I loved doing front-end development like so much. Basically, for me, front-end development was the perfect intersection of the arts and the analytical, technological side of my brain. And the more front-end work that I did, the more my bosses realized like, hey, Kevin's pretty good at this stuff. So they would give me more and more work regarding front-end work. But the thing about it, circling back to anxiety, is that when I started my career and, when I was just younger, I had a very malleable personality, and I took the things that other people said to heart too easily. I let other people's opinions sway my own too easily. I started to hear a lot of things from coworkers or just online, stuff like front-end devs are a dime a dozen, front-end is easy, front-end doesn't do anything, front-end's gonna be taken by AI first, front-end isn't real development. And this is a feeling that you'll either understand or you don't. Self-doubt and anxiety. That feeling that infects your brain. When you feel like what you're doing isn't getting approval or respect from your coworkers or your bosses, doesn't matter if it's true or not, it infects your brain. So what happened? So basically, I tried to run far, far away from front-end development. In every job that I took on, I tried to get assigned more and more back-end tasks, the tasks that were seen as the more important tasks, the ones that the engineers that were more important when, the site was on fire and they came to fix everything. Those were the tasks I tried to bias towards, because I thought that doing this would gain the respect of other people, of my coworkers and everything like that. What I realized over time was that I enjoyed doing this side of development much, much less. And I was doing it basically just for the approval of other people. And the more and more back-end roles I took on, the more and more back-end tasks I took on, the more and more unhappy I was in my career. I think we all want to feel important in some way to our coworkers. It's only natural, right? We all want to feel like we're making a big contribution. But the truth is that we're all important in different ways. My self-doubt in my roles was because I felt less useful than my coworkers. But at the end of the day, is that really true? And does it really matter? Do you really want to be doing something that you feel like will gain more respect? Or do you want to be doing something that you love? This is what I told myself over my 6-year career and over again. But it took me a while to fully understand it. It was a realization that what other people think truly, truly doesn't matter. All that matters is, are you good at what you do? Do you like what you do? And do you have other things to do outside of work? And over time, I've come to love my own role and my own specialization and my own niche in this software career. And hopefully, if you're struggling with doubt and anxiety about your own specialization, if you're getting pigeonholed in your role, either try and embrace it or move to something else that you love. And don't let other people's opinions sway and mold how you will live your life. My second story is self-doubt and anxiety about my performance at my jobs. So this one's pretty common, right? This is imposter syndrome at its core. When I got my first software job, I was so scared of losing the job to force me back into the job search realm. And when I got my second software job, I was still afraid deeply of losing that job because I just didn't have that much experience overall. So because of that, I always had this deep fear that I was performing poorly and that I was about to get fired and kicked out, and I had to do all this shit again in terms of studying and interviewing. And I would start to analyze every single micro emotion about my coworkers and my bosses, even like Slack messages, that I was doing a bad job. It got to my core and my anxiety, and it infected my brain. But I was a software engineer for a long time. And the thing about it is that a lot of the times we can be really our own worst enemies. There was a pattern in every company I went to, which was that at the end of the year, when it was time to review our performance, or I worked at a lot of startups, so honestly, we didn't really have perfect practices for this kind of stuff. But when it came time to the performance review, I always got good marks. And in one of my jobs, I had a conversation with one of my bosses about this anxiety about performance compared to my other coworkers, or imposter syndrome. And my boss told me straight up that the job of a good manager is to tell you when you're underperforming. And if they don't tell you that, then don't worry about your own performance. This is one of those things like from the movie Inside Out, where the whole point of anxiety is to map out future possibilities, map out the worst possibilities in every scenario to try and prepare for each one to protect yourself. But also, one of the lessons from that movie was that anxiety can also wreck every other emotion and your happiness in life. If you're struggling with imposter syndrome, if no one has told you that you're doing a bad job, if you feel like you're doing a good job, don't sweat it and continue doing what you're doing. Okay, so the third story is self-doubt about climbing the corporate ladder. So earlier in my career, people all around me, my coworkers, were all obsessed with climbing the corporate ladder and making more money and getting a better position and all that kind of stuff. At first it was at startups, and startups don't really have this thing because generally it's a pretty flat hierarchical structure where there's not really promotions and stuff like that. But when I moved to a big company, this was definitely more apparent, right? Some people wanted that promotion. Some people wanted that pay raise and everything like that. And the thing about me was that I always felt like I didn't really care about getting promoted. I didn't really care. I just wanted to code and enjoy what I was doing and go home and do other stuff. And I thought about, was I lazy? Was I not thinking about it enough? Or was it something else that was wrong with me? I think this feeling kind of comes from, how we were raised with school. When we're all brought up in the same exact path, kindergarten through 12th grade, through college, and we're all competing with other students. And if we see other people doing something because they're trying to get to a better college, well, we're going to be like, okay, we have to do what they're doing. But after this whole paved road, after you're in just a working job and you're just in the 9-to-5 work life, different people want different things. I've seen coworkers who were extremely happy coding 8 hours a day at their job. Then they shoot for their promotion to become some sort of senior staff level engineer. And then suddenly their work shifts to 8 hours of meetings a day plus 4 hours of coding after work just so they can keep up with their coding because they spent all their time in meetings. And I've seen them become 100 times more miserable just because they were shooting for some sort of promotion. What I realized from all of this, from my career, was that everyone is different. Everyone's goals are different. Everything that people want in their life is different. What I want in my life is just to work on things I love and to do other things outside of work. For other people, they might find extreme joy and just sense of direction in their life of climbing the corporate ladder. And that's completely okay. Both things are true, and letting our own self-doubt and anxiety really come in between what is real and what is not can really hurt us in the long run. So those are my 3 stories. I hope if you're struggling with self-doubt that you find some way to get through it for yourself. Remember that anxiety is here to protect us sometimes, but also anxiety can wreck and infect our brains. Trying to find that balance is how to have a long and successful career. Anyways, that's it for today. As always, thanks for watching.